Hi, welcome back to Making Sense Conversations. My name is Washeken Duati, and we continue our series on women and money. And today I want to talk about something, not the cheaper option. Women are not the cheaper option. I had a phone call today with a prospective client, and when I quoted my price, they gasped, and I said, you know what, I'm definitely not the cheaper option, and I'm calling it. And I think it's time as women we start calling it, because a lot of the time we are looked at as the cheaper option. Whether you're in business or you're in employment earning a salary, I think it's time we start challenging that narrative. And I remember years ago, I had a silent business partner, male, very silent. It was the time when companies needed 2 directors. So of course, you need 2 directors, bank signatories too. So I'm the one running about with Centonomy. I'm on TV, I'm on media, I'm writing the articles, I'm everywhere, I'm training. So you know I'm the face of Centonomy, I'm the founder of Centonomy, and at that point, the CEO of Centonomy. Yet, whenever it was to do with transfers in the bank account, especially over a certain amount, the same bank who would call me for small amounts would call him, the silent business partner, for the big amounts. And I let it go a couple of times, but it bothered me. And the first time it started bothering me, I questioned. I was like, maybe it's me, maybe I'm overreacting. But ultimately, I realized something is definitely wrong with that. Many women have told me, even when they approach investment advisors, they're going to buy shares, they're going to buy a unit trust, they're going into a bank to put a serious fixed deposit. They are dealt with, until maybe they say the amount of money, they are first dealt with like people who are not supposed to be there or don't have the money. It's only sometimes when people do realize how much money is walking in through the door that they pay attention. But the first instinct is not that. While for men, the first instinct is this person has money to invest. There are people who've been shut out of financial discussions in the home, at work, yet they are the ones carrying the responsibility of executing what is supposed to be executed. And I just want to share maybe how sometimes we agree to it without understanding we are agreeing to it, or even us to start investigating where our psychology around this is coming from. Remember, we're coming from influences that are not of us. They are from society. They're the way we were brought up. Messages that we hear. Just sometimes the way even just women and women conversations are treated. So, number 1, believing it, that's the role we have to play. We believe we have to shrink, and we talk ourselves into it. And we start saying things like, maybe it's me overreacting, maybe it's not so bad, maybe it's the way that's supposed to be. I know people who are in partnership in business with their husbands also think, like the same example of me and the bank, they're like, okay, but he's my husband, so maybe it's okay if the bank treats me like that. And it's not. This same bank, I finally gave them an ultimatum, and I said, listen, I'm the one running the business. The next time you call my business partner to confirm a transaction, I am out, and I meant it. So I think it's time to ask yourself, are you okay with it? And if not, what ultimatums do you actually have to give? Second problem is that we don't challenge it. The way I said, I challenged the bank. We just don't challenge it. It's sad. It's definitely sad that we have to. It's definitely better than it used to be, but sometimes we do. If you're negotiating price in business, a salary negotiation, you have to challenge it. And it's time to be seen on value rather than being seen on gender or people's perception about what that gender means. I remember there's a time I went back and forth with a client, and sometimes the answer has to be no, to stick up to your principles about a talk, and I refused to do it. And they ended up paying somebody less qualified than me, male, more money. They eventually came back to me for their next year session. By that time, my price had gone up, but they agreed to it because they realized they paid someone more for less. And it is again sad, and I corrected them. It's sad that we have to keep challenging it, but I want us to start being aware of those situations that are in our lives or appear in our lives that are just wrong, and somebody is not taking your value. They're not speaking to your value. They're speaking to what they think they can get out of you. We do, however, have to be better at the value conversation. We buy into, even if it's a client or it's a job, their emotional needs. A client will say, oh, please give me a discount. People tend to ask women for discounts, and men don't get asked for discounts that much. They assume a woman is willing to give a discount. If you want to get discounts, then state a higher price. So when you get your discount, you actually arrive at the value you wanted. But that's not even the point. The point is, why do we as women have to be the ones who are always discounted? Well, men, people actually rise up to the occasion for men. So we have to start talking value. So if you are agreeing to compromise on something, it's because there's a value exchange that equates what you're compromising on. But let's get better at speaking the value and presenting ourselves from a value perspective. This is my experience, this is my qualifications, this is what I can do, this is what it will do for you, both in a job and in a business. I have a friend who told me that he's realized in his organization that when women apply for jobs, they expect the women to take what has been offered or less. They expect men to take what has been offered or more. So when women walk in, they do try to, if the price, their budget was 100,000, they'll say something like 70,000. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, women take it and they buy into that story, or let's see how you will perform, and then maybe later we can discuss. And the price that you enter at, it's usually very, very hard. Even for business, it's very, very hard to move from that price later. I learned even in my business, you state a certain price one day, you think next year they're going to offer you more. No, what they've just actually learned is that's what you've equated your value to be. So to start getting a higher price means you have to prove additional value, yet your initial value was already higher than what it is that you're being offered. Thirdly, we have had a fundamental mindset that we should earn less, and we don't realize it, even as women. Let's say you have a spouse. If both of you are in a career or business, don't default to the fact that you are the one who should earn less. I know many of us are coming from watching traditional roles of where that happened, but life is changing. Requirements of life is changing. And the more two people can step up, the better for you, the better for your family. And it's just better for you. Money sometimes is an indicator of value. It's just better for you to feel that your worth is being recognized. So you've got to address, what's your fear of earning more? I had a client who told me she didn't want to drive her car to certain places because of the fear of what people will expect of her. And if we approach our income earning potential from a place of hiding, from a place of fear, we are always never going to be rising. And I said, why I'm having these women conversations is because I fundamentally believe it is everybody's made in God's image, and it is our right to step up to the entirety of who God created us to be. The fear demands will be placed on them. So first of all, we've got to test the assumption. Sometimes we're just coming from a narrative from other people and projecting it into our current circumstances. So test, really, are your assumptions true? Will people really demand more of you, or is it you just walking around with that fear? And I know many have tested their assumptions. I've tested my assumptions in many things, and many times my assumptions have been proved wrong. It's just that I'm carrying a story in my head. There's a belief system that came from somewhere. So you may be carrying a belief system that came from somewhere that if you earn more, it will mean problems in your relationship, it will mean problems in your family, or people will think you're rich and you have a problem with that, or society will demand of you. Whatever it is, test your assumptions. Are they true or perceived? Okay, so remove the ones that are perceived. Now, what if they are true? Then you've got to choose. Are you going to stand in your potential or be bogged down by what other people will expect of you or how other people will behave around you? If you do decide that you want to make that concession, then just know you have done it. Otherwise, find a way to confront the situation. If you're not happy with a concession, confront the situation. And I want you to be everything you can be. I want you to earn all the money that you can earn, that you are meant to earn. So we've really, really got to stop having this blanket, subconscious expectations of ourselves that it's okay to earn less because I'm a woman, I can do less. I think women are making great strides. A lot of them are the breadwinners, the positions they're taking up, but they still work to do because we're coming from, generations and generations and generations of certain narratives that continue being passed down consciously or subconsciously, sometimes even just the role models we have in front of us as we are growing up. So there are many more subtle ways that we agree to it, or many ways that society has made women seem that they can earn less. Even some banks really declare we have this amount of money for women businesses, but we just don't want the money for women businesses. We want the money that is allocated for all businesses. We want us to be treated equally when we enter a bank and ask for funding and ask for loans. It's not about just let me take from this small pot of money that has been allocated to businesses. What about if I want 100 times more than you're offering, or my idea is 100 times more? So the world sometimes makes a big deal out of offering us very little. And I think together we have to start challenging. So I want you to encourage you, don't be the cheaper option. Don't shrink to fit in, because we cannot shrink into our greatness. Yeah. So if your business plan, if your career goals dictate a certain level, then go for that level, and let's not be boxed into this is the women's section. Yeah. How do you see yourself? If you want to earn 2 times, 3 times, 4 times worth more than you're earning today, that means you have to see yourself differently. If your income is 100,000 and you want it to be 400,000, how does that person earning 400,000 present themselves? How do they talk? Who do they network with? How do they plan their time? What is the narrative you want other people to have of you? How are you showing your value? How are you actually showing up? So we have to start asking ourselves that. We have to start thinking like that. Do not think within your means. We have to live within our means by all means, but let's not think within our means. Let's think as how we were created to be, which is way beyond your bank account. So once again, you are not the cheaper option. Do not be the cheaper option. Let's talk value, and may you get everything you deserve. Thank you very much.